So we got a question on one of your video blogs about soulmates. I believe the title was "Do Soulmates Exist?" And someone asked you a question. She says, "What still puzzles me is how to raise children as a couple when you already are in this unprojected way of being lovers. If you are ready for a new experience to evolve and move along, how can you hold safe space for children?"
Okay, it's a very interesting question. There are different elements in this question. So can you tell me the first part of the question?
Yeah, so the first part is, what still puzzles me is how to raise children as a couple when you already are in this unprojected way of being lovers.
Okay, let's stop there. Unprojected way?
Yeah, of being lovers.
Okay, so we are not projecting, which means we are authentic.
Right.
Because if we are projecting, we are creating an illusion that eventually is going to create drama, and certainly the children will not benefit from that. I mean, they will benefit because they will learn what they don't want. Yeah. So the benefit is, in whatever direction you take, will be there. And by the way, your children are perfectly equipped to face all the challenges that the parents are exposing to them, because that's why they chose those two parents. Back to the projecting, if I love you and I project a fantasy on you, an idealistic idea of love with you, it means I'm not seeing you, and you are not seeing me. So basically, we are sharing with the children a lie. Not a malicious lie, but still is an illusion, and then they will have to find out themselves why is an illusion. While if you step into a love that doesn't have a projection, it means that you love enough yourself that you drop all the needs for any kind of projection. You just are able to be completely open and vulnerable and naked in front of your lover. Then you are the impersonification of love, and that's the most beautiful way you can have children and share your time with them. So this is the first part. The second part, what was the question?
The second part is, if you are ready for a new experience to evolve and move along, how can you hold safe space for children?
How can you
hold safe space for children?
Okay. The more you go towards higher level of evolution, the more by default you will be safe, because safety comes from unconsciousness. The need of being safe from someone comes from fear. So actually it is more danger to grow children when you are in fear than when you are fully embracing love. and the evolution, whether you want it or not, will be there. Basically, you are by being fully who you are, you are being an example, because your children look at you as, for the first few years of their life, they look at you as a, how do you say, point of referral, right? So let's say that the child it's running and the mother is there looking at their child, and the child is running and then all of a sudden fall on the ground. Before he decide that that was bad or good, the first thing he does is looks at her mother or her father, right? And then based on what the reaction of their father and mother, he will step either into drama or not. So if the mother says, "Oh my God, what happened? Did you hurt?" He will immediately link and tune into that, and then he will start to cry and feel sorry for himself and how bad it is, and he will start to maybe even create some blockages about running, and then he will not run anymore freely as he was a few seconds ago. Or maybe he fall in the grass or in the ground, and then look at the mother. Mother smiles. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Let's try again. And then he will adjust his experience based on that. So this is to say that if the mother and the father are in a state of full self-empowerment and sovereignty and love, every time the child look at them as a point of referral, they see love, self-empowerment, and sovereignty. So most of our of parents are caught up with the idea that they have to give up their dreams, they have to give up their personal happiness and their personal desires and joy because they have children. I would say quite the opposite. Now more than ever, since you do have children now, you really have to follow your joy, you really have to follow your dream, because your children are constantly looking at you and looking at you, and you are a magnet of what is true for them. And so if you exude this self-sacrificing and contractive taking care of them, you give a much less vibrant message than being as happy as possible and as joyful as possible yourself in your own life. Because after all, the children, that's what they really want. They want a pair of really, really happy, joyful, fun, and vibrant, creative parents. They don't want these parents that work hard to sacrifice for them and make everything so gray. They want their parent to be happy. They don't really care about anything else.
Right. Well, how would you say then if one parent choose to go a separate way? So the mother and the father of the child are going separate ways.
What does it mean, separate ways?
So they don't live together in one house, and one is living on the other side of the planet, for example, extreme example, but sometimes that happens. What is that? So would you also say, if that is the choice of the parents because that makes them happy, is that the best for the children?
In the long run, yes.
Yeah.
There might be some adjustment time, But in the long run, your child will respect you and will admire you because you stand it for what was for you happiness. And that's the most beautiful lesson you can give to a child or to anybody. But it's very rare there are these extreme situation. Most of the time I understand what you're talking about. You're talking about separating, not being anymore a couple. But that doesn't have anything to do with parenting. If two persons are high conscious, they can still be wonderful parents and still love each other, even if they don't have, they don't share the same bed at night. I don't see any problem with that. Being together in interaction that is sexual or is so-called relationship is not a forever contract. Is a contract that it lasts for as long as keep coming. Once you don't grow anymore, then you should change the format. And that doesn't mean that you don't love each other anymore. You just keep loving each other. It's just is a different, is now more in line with your new vibrational offer that you gained by being with this individual. So everything works out fine. There is no need to. The children wouldn't be stressed. They are much more stressed when the two parents they are stubborn in keeping being together and fighting all the time, or pretending that everything is good and they don't fight, but the child is not stupid, will feel that. So that's actually much more embarrassing for the child. You know.
Yeah, sometimes they say, or there have been researchers even, that children have a very traumatic experience when the parents divorce.
And why is that?
I have no idea why that happens, but I guess that's mostly for the most children has some kind of impact.
Because it is projected with the idea of divorce. Is projected the idea of separation. Mm-hmm. That's why it's dramatic. But why to make such an association? Divorce doesn't mean separation. It means just a change in communion.
Yeah, I wonder if a child knows that.
That's the job of the parents. Mm-hmm. We are just changing the structure. But love is between us, is still there. We all are still together. We're just making adjustment. As we grow, things changes. And so the child will understand that it is okay to make changes. It will not project fear and contraction on the idea of changing. Because that's where the idea of abandonment comes from. Once we understand that there is nothing to fear from changing, there is no need to feel abandoned. Mm-hmm. It's just change. Everything is constantly changed. Nothing stays the same. Life is constantly is a vortex, is a creative spiral. So it never stay the same. Trying to stay in a sameness environment is very unhealthy. The child, yes, will feel safe, will feel in this comfort zone, but he will be dead. He will be not a vibrantly alive child, and he will not be a vibrantly alive adult. He will address and walk through his journey by constantly trying to stay in the comfort zone. And isn't that what most of the people do? Many people do. Constantly afraid of changing because we have this idea that changing is bad. We associate the idea of changing with death. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that. We have to die in order to live again. The cycle of life, of birth and death, keep going. We don't die, we just change. So the divorce is so dramatic because it's projected and associated to the idea of separation. But if the two parents are lovers, meaning they love themselves, so they are not into the separative, contractive situation that brings to drama and fighting and all that, they just change the dance, but they're still dancing, and it's actually more, now it's even more beautiful, more interesting. Now look, now we are changing the dance. And the child will say, oh, nice. Because the child by default is a creative being, so he loves to new expression of creativity. He will always welcome creativity. So when we divorce, this word divorce is so heavy, so dense, filled with so much negativity. Divorce should be a celebration. It means that we graduated. We passed the intent that life synchronicity arranged for us is fulfilled. So we are now shifting into a different setup, because now our vibrational offer has changed. We expanded our field of possibilities, so now there is many more possibilities available to us, and so we should all celebrate. And so the child and the couple should celebrate together divorce.
Right, that's another way of looking at it, yeah.
Is an healthy way to look at it. What is the other? What is, okay, let's...
So mostly if people would create a lot of drama around divorce, right? Because one or the other is hurt because she or he left, and you know, all this fear comes up, and the pain and all the things that has happened in the relationship, and you know, there's a lot of things that
and that's is an indication that we are not lovers.
Right.
Meaning we don't love ourselves enough. So we are projecting, as the question at the beginning, we are projecting an idealization of what love should be, which is not vibrant, because it comes from neediness. And therefore we have to face all these discombobulating phases of falling apart, because we see the glass half empty rather than half full. So we just have to eventually we will get to a point where we shift our perception in a way that we allow changes to come, and we actually welcome changes to come. We don't fear them. We don't feel any sort of abandonment. Any sort of abandonment from what? Life is love. There is only love. So you're always in a state of love. You're always supported by life. The only reason why you're not supportive of life because you decide so. So children will benefit from two vibrantly alive, joyful, self-loving parents much more than by two parents that are sacrificing their life for their children, and they are creating this survival mechanism, this safety comfort zone, because there is separation, and so there is something that we need to protect you from, and the children of course will accept that as true, and then they will have to spend the rest of their life to figure out stuff and to deprogram that and to finally get free out of that. So that's why in many ways most of the biggest challenge in this planet start from family. It's a traumatic environment because it's not conceived from real love, it's conceived from a conditional love, and therefore it's filled with lies, deceptions, and lack of transparency, lack of integrity, and lack of honesty. But it's nothing wrong, because it's an experience, and it helps us. It's a big teaching. It's another important, valuable experience. I'm not saying that we shouldn't commune into the idea of family. Of course we should. However, as we do that more and more and more, we will start to figure out that family become a beautiful experience when we start to love ourselves more. The more we will love ourselves, the more healthy will be family. And then changes, inevitable, because changes are inevitable, will be welcomed and celebrated.